provincial capital of the northwest, Mahikeng, and its surrounding villages are reeling from the aftermath of a catastrophic hailstorm that struck on Tuesday evening, April 21st, 2026. The storm, characterized by golf ball-sized hailstones and gale-force winds, has left a trail of destruction, prompting the immediate activation of disaster management units. The storm began late Tuesday, following a period of intense humidity. Residents described a sudden atmospheric shift before the heavens opened, releasing a barrage of ice that lasted for nearly 40 minutes. The sound, described by locals as resembling a freight train, was the precursor to widespread structural failures across the municipality. By Wednesday morning, the extent of the damage became visible. Hundreds of homes in both suburban Mahikang and outlying rural areas reported shattered windows, perforated corrugated iron roofs, and collapsed ceilings. Preliminary reports from the Mahikeng local municipality indicate that the damage is not limited to private residential property. Thousands of vehicles parked outdoors suffered severe denting and smashed windscreens. Local insurance brokers expect a record-breaking surge in claims over the coming week. Heavy winds accompanying the hail brought down several power lines and damaged transformers. Technical teams are currently working to restore electricity to affected wards, though some areas remain in the dark. Local subsistence farmers and commercial growers in the northwest have reported significant crop losses, with young plants being completely shredded by the ice. The Mahikeng local municipality, in coordination with the Provincial Disaster Management Center, has officially activated its emergency protocols. Our primary focus right now is providing temporary shelter to those whose homes have been rendered uninhabitable, said a municipal spokesperson. Disaster teams are currently on the ground conducting a door-to-door assessment to determine the full scale of the crisis. Social media platforms have been flooded with images and videos of the storm's ferocity. Footage shows streets covered in a thick white blanket of ice, resembling a snowscape, and residents desperately using buckets to bail out water as flash flooding followed the hail. The South African Weather Service, SAWS, has cautioned that while the immediate system has passed, the region remains volatile. Residents are urged to secure loose outdoor items, reinforce damaged roofing with tarpaulins to prevent further water damage from potential aftershowers, monitor local radio and official social media channels for further weather alerts. As the cleanup begins, the community of Mahikang shows its characteristic resilience, with neighbors helping one another to clear debris and secure damaged homes. However, with the sheer scale of the damage, it is clear that the road to full recovery will be a long and costly one. The hailstorm struck around 5 p.m. on Tuesday, with little warning in some areas. Strong winds combined with heavy downpours and hail the size of golf balls, or larger, caused roofs to cave in or be blown off completely. Windows shattered under the force of the ice, allowing water to flood inside and ruin furniture, clothes, and household goods. Residents described the sound as frightening, with some comparing it to a freight train passing overhead. In minutes, gardens turned white with hail, and streets were covered in ice. No serious injuries or deaths have been reported so far, which many see as a blessing amid the widespread property damage. The storm affected multiple parts of Mahikeng, including residential areas where families live in both formal houses and informal structures that proved especially vulnerable. On Wednesday morning, families stepped outside to survey the destruction. Many homes now have gaping holes in their roofs, exposing rooms to the elements. Water damage has ruined ceilings, walls, and belongings. Cars parked outside suffered dents and broken windscreens from the large hailstones. For some households, the losses run deep. A single roof replacement can cost thousands of rand that many families simply do not have. Others worry about leaking roofs during the coming winter months or further rain that could worsen the situation. Local disaster management teams are expected to visit affected areas soon to assess the damage and coordinate support where needed. Residents have been urged to report all incidents of structural damage or flooding so that help can reach those who need it most. Poorly maintained roofs and older buildings in parts of the town offered little protection against the large hail. Informal settlements and areas with zinc roofs were hit particularly hard as the thin metal sheets buckled or flew off under the bombardment. Several areas in the far south were affected by localized flooding following heavy downpours and strong winds across the Cape Peninsula. Social media platforms and community WhatsApp groups were inundated with photos and videos showing flooded roads and waterlogged areas in Masafumalili, Ocean View, Sun Valley, Fish Hook, and Kalk Bay. The severe weather followed a warning issued by the South African Weather Service, SAWS, which forecast widespread rainfall over the southwestern parts of the Western Cape. Rainfall accumulations of between 30 millimeters and 60 millimeters were expected, particularly over mountainous areas. The warning highlighted the potential for localized flooding of roads and low-lying bridges in both formal and informal settlements, along with possible damage to property and infrastructure. Difficult driving conditions, disruptions to traffic flow, and interruptions to essential services such as electricity were also anticipated. The City of Cape Town's Disaster Risk Management Center confirmed that widespread flooding was reported across the metro, with several roads affected. Disaster Risk Management spokesperson Sonica Ladigan said reports of flooding were received from several areas across the city, including informal settlements, where the main issues identified were leaking roofs and wet floors. Road infrastructure management was activated to assist with sand and milling to affected areas, while the informal settlement management branch provided plastic sheeting, she said. Ladigan added that disaster risk management officials had completed assessments in affected areas and remain on standby, with all emergency response services on high alert. Urban mobility teams were also deployed to attend to flooded roads and blocked drains. Flooding was reported on several roads, particularly in Simonstown, where heavy downpours prevented water from clearing quickly. Traffic was diverted via Soldiers Way back onto Main Road, while congestion was also reported along Main Road and near the Glencairn Expressway, with officials on scene managing traffic. The city said inclement weather had resulted in high service request volumes, with heavy rain delaying restoration times. The city apologizes for the inconvenience while our teams attend to electricity area faults, primarily due to the stormy, wet weather, the city said. Rain and high wind speeds make electrical work dangerous, but city energy teams are nonetheless on the ground, attending to the various outages and backlogs with urgency. Candace Thomas from Living Hope said teams are currently unable to respond due to widespread waterlogging across affected areas. They will be doing in-depth assessments in the coming days, she said. She added that further responses are expected as the impact of the rainfall becomes clearer over the coming weeks and months. However, with the early extensive rain, we know that we will be responding to flooded homes in the coming weeks and months. Often, clothing and bedding are a huge need for those homes struggling with flooding, as everything gets wet. Residents have been urged to remain cautious, particularly when traveling through low-lying areas, and to take precautions to protect their homes. Ladigan advised residents to ensure their homes are waterproof, secure loose outdoor items, and consider raising floor levels or using sandbags to prevent floodwater from entering their homes. She also encouraged residents to save the city's Public Emergency Communication Center number, 02-148-07700 on their phones.